I had on my list today to do a video on laying your heart bare before God. So I want to talk about that. And then it kind of came up in Bible study tonight. Someone was asking a question about what is this rending your heart business? So I want to talk about that just a little bit. When I talk about laying your heart bare, this is something that needs to be happening every single day. This should be the first thing that you do when you get up, and it should be done every single day. And I know when people hear this they're just starting to have a relationship with God, they think every day have a relationship with him. I mean, that's like kind of a lot, isn't it? I mean, it takes me about an hour to start doing these things, to do these things, to examine myself, to get into the heart and spirit, to discipline my flesh, to circumcise from the sinful flesh, to, start talking with God. That's a little much, isn't it? And my question to you, usually the people who say these things are those who have told me, I'll do anything, but they're not willing to give God an hour of their day. The other thing is that we're not supposed to be starting our day without God. How does your day go when you start your day without God? When you start the day thinking that it's your day, your life, your plans, how does your day typically go? Versus when you actually sit with him and you begin the day asking him what he wants you to do, what does he want you to examine, how does he want to build you today? And people get scared of that. People get concerned that they're not going to be able to control the day or that it's going to get away from them. And I really understand that. There is a learning curve and there is a transition that has to be made from living perpetually in the flesh to living in the heart and spirit. And when you're living in the heart and spirit by God's Spirit, what you're doing is submitting to him. And so you are going to feel uncomfortable. And the reason you're going to feel uncomfortable is because you're now transitioning to the one who's actually in control. But you start to think like, I'm losing control. You're not losing control. You're just not living in a place where you're deluded thinking that you have control. You're living in submission to him. And we start to think, oh, everything's going to fall by the wayside. Like I'm going to forget to, take care of certain things because you're used to having the to-do list and you're used to checking things, relentlessly and being busy and distracted by trying to, control the world? I mean, we really don't control any of that. You remember that Martha and Mary had this situation, the two sisters of Lazarus. Jesus was talking and Mary was sitting at his feet and she was feasting on every word and she just wanted to be with him. And Martha was busy making arrangements and cooking food and doing all of this. And she said to Jesus, you see that my sister's sitting with you. Why don't you tell her to get up and help me? And he says, Martha, Martha, you're very worried about many things, but Mary has made the right decision. We are very worried about many things, but submitting and sitting at his feet, that's the right decision. Everything else is easy for God. Taking care of everything else is easy for God. Technically, everything's easy for God, but he has not set things up to where he will do the things that he has designed you and arranged for you to actually do in your covenant. He's not going to do that. It's not that he can't. It's that that's not what he wants. It's not what he desires. It's not what he's pleased to do. You are required to fulfill your covenant and demonstrate that you've actually chosen him, that you love him, that you're submitted to him, and that you are relating with him according to who he is, according to what he's doing and what he knows is good. And what he knows is good is making you holy as he is holy. And the only way that that will happen is if you receive that and you pursue it with all your heart. Your heart is already laid bare before God. There's nothing that you have done, nothing you think that has been hidden from God. Part of rending your heart to God is indeed sitting with him. First of all, making him your priority so that you're not getting up and going about your day without him, without acknowledging him and who he is and what he's doing. Second of all, laying your heart bare before him and saying, Lord, I know that everything's laid bare before you, but I want to engage with you in this. I'm laying my heart bare before you. Please convict me. Help me to understand what is it that I need to be doing right now. What is it that you're calling me to do today? Help me to see what you're raising in the design that you've given me, in the circumstances that you brought in my life by your sovereignty, in the memories that you're now raising to my awareness that you want me to now deal with, that you want me to now resolve. In Job 33, verse 8, Elihu tells Job, you've said in my hearing, I heard the very words, I'm pure. I have done no wrong. I'm clean and free from sin, yet God has found fault with me. He considers me his enemy. He fastens my feet in shackles. He keeps close watch on all my paths. But I tell you, in this you are not right. For God is greater than any mortal. Why do you complain to him that he responds to no one's words? For God does speak, now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings, to turn them from wrongdoing, to keep them from pride, to preserve them from going to the pit, their lives from perishing by the sword. Or someone may be chastened on a bed of pain with constant distress in their bones, so that their body finds food repulsive and their soul loathes the choicest meal. Their flesh wastes away to nothing, and their bones, once hidden, now stick out. They draw near to the pit, and their life to the messengers of death. Yet if there is an angel at their side, by the way, this is my story right there. That's the story I share with you. That's exactly what he did to me. They draw near to the pit, and their life to the messengers of death. And let me tell you what I was doing at that time. Why do you have me alive? Why do you keep me alive? Just take me. Why are you doing this to me? I had no perception. I had no understanding of how my sin had brought me into that position until God began to speak with me, until I actually rent my heart to him, until I started to actually receive his building of me. But he had to bring me to that position to finally listen to what he was doing rather than what I wanted my life to look like. Yet if there is an angel at their side, a messenger, 1 out of 1,000 sent to tell them how to be upright, and he is gracious to that person and says to God, spare them from going down to the pit. I've found a ransom for them. Let their flesh be renewed like a child's. Let them be restored as in the days of their youth. Then that person can pray to God and find favor with him. They will see God's face and shout for joy. He will restore them to full well-being. And they will go to others and say, I have sinned. I perverted what is right, but I did not get what I deserved. God has delivered me from going down to the pit, and I shall live to enjoy the light of life. What's the light of life? Is that the life here? Is that why he's saving you from death? Is that why you're working out this covenant? That's talking about eternal life, the light of life. God does all these things to a person twice, even 3 times, to turn them back from the pit, that the light of life may shine on them. Why does he do it? To turn them back from the pit, that the light of life may shine on them. Also, that they will go to others and say, I've sinned, I've perverted what is right, but I did not get what I deserved. And that's exactly the message that I share with you. That's why God did that to me. But we need to perceive what God's doing. And someone tonight was saying that they haven't heard God in 50 years, which I know is not true because we've talked about many of the ways that God has spoken. But we need to perceive. And I think that the light went on for this person with regard to perceiving what God is saying and the many ways that he does talk. And that's one of the things that I teach you in Heart Known series is to perceive the ways he's talking. He's talking in your body, your memories, your dreams, your sensations. He's sending your circumstances. And so he's raising these things so that you know what he's contending with you on. It's not always going to be so clear in your spirit what he's saying to you, because he's training your entire soul to listen to him, to pant for him, to pursue what is it that he's talking about. As you're laying your heart bare before him, you need to remember to work with what he's giving you. Because a lot of times when people are doing this or they're going to receive God's ministry, they're saying things like, well, God's not talking to me. He's not responding. I don't know if I hear God. Are you perceiving? You need to work with what he's giving you. What are the things that I've taught you in Heart Known series? I've taught you to listen in all these ways that I've listed. Dreams, memories, thoughts, feelings, sensations, circumstances. It makes no sense to just say the words, lay my heart bare before you. Your heart's already laid bare before him. But to ignore his reprovals, his situations, things he's raising, the design he's given you, the sin that you're perfectly aware needs to change. It makes no sense for you to ignore all of those things and say, no, God's not speaking. Is God not speaking, or is he not saying the things that you want him to say? And then you need a way of responding. You need to be able to respond. And some people get very freaked out. They get very anxious and scared about how to address the things that God's convicting them of. And so they cower and they run and they hide because they don't know how to address it. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've written a book, Heart Known series. It is a workbook to walk you through that. I have offered you that book totally for free on the channel. If you want the hardback, you're going to have to pay for it. But I've offered you the PDF. And I've offered you workshops on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. As long as you do the fast and you put him first and you do the work in Heart Known series, I've made myself available to help you. So there really should not be any excuse why you're not doing this work, because I make it abundantly clear on the videos why it is that this work is necessary. When you're listening to people in Bible study on the channel, in the assemblies, you hear other people's testimonies of how this work is changing their lives, how they longed to hear from God, and now they're hearing from him. And many, most would say, well, technically he's been talking, but I haven't been perceiving it. And now that I'm perceiving it, he's responding more to me. So there should be no excuse, because everyone is sharing their testimony, including myself. And this needs to be something that you're doing on a daily basis. It should be the first thing that you're doing. No excuses, because that's what you came here to do. And if you run off and go do your day for you and your life, you are rejecting the ministry of God. You're rejecting being built by him. You have not placed him first. So how in the world could you be built by him? Your agenda, your motive during the day is checking things off and, living by anxiety and fear and compulsion, trying to accomplish things by the flesh. I want you to know something. That's how people live when they're dead. That's how they live when they're spiritually dead. That is not the way that they live when they've crossed over from death to life. If you want to live, you're going to have to find another way to live here. You cannot live according to the compulsions and indulgences and passions of the flesh and cross over into spiritual life. It's impossible. When you're laying your heart bare, what you're doing is you are recognizing that God has said from the very beginning of the Old Testament that you are to become holy as God is holy. And guess what? He says it all the way to the New Testament. So no one should say that anything's changed in what he requires of us. We got a long way to go if we're going to become holy as God is holy. Is it holy to wake up in the morning, caffeinate yourself, and run out the door to go live your life, and then throw God a bone a few days a week? Are you ever going to get to that place? I don't think so. We have to lay our hearts bare. And as we're laying our hearts bare, asking God to reveal to us what is it that he is raising to the surface for us to address. We need a way to address it, and we need a way to perceive what he's raising to the surface. Again, that is what I teach you in Heart Known series. That's what I'm telling you here in these videos. Your memories, sensations, dreams, circumstances, feelings, thoughts. I teach you how to journal it out. I teach you how to process. I teach you how to do your personal accountability work so that you can then go and have a correct relationship with God rather than one in your flesh in which you're requiring him to do all of the work for you. Because I can tell you right now, he will not respond to you in your flesh, and he does not engage you in a codependent relationship. He has required you to do certain things in this covenant. And all of his word indicates that his heart is, if you obey, then you will be blessed, then you will be saved, then you will be rewarded. If you disobey, then you will be punished, then you will die. All of his word talks about that. So why would his covenant be any different? His covenant is exactly that. It is an if you obey, then you will be saved. If you lay your heart bare before him, you ask him to convict you, you receive from him, you do the things that he has required of you, such as circumcising from the sinful desires of your flesh and disciplining your physical flesh according to him and living in the heart and spirit where he's cleaning you up in the heart. He is spirit, so he's communicating with your spirit. Your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak. That's where he wants you to live. If you rend yourself according to what he requires, then you will live, and he will build you, and he will move you in ways that you are not capable of doing in this covenant, or to pick up the end times, the things that you're going to suffer for Christ. I hope that's clear. Thank you for listening. Ask your questions as you have them. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.